Welcome back, Wayward Souls. Double tap in, episode 25.
Wow.
Right?
It's amazing. It really is that we're still here.
Yeah, 25% of the way to 100.
That's right. And we've got 7 loyal listeners. I'm good with that.
But yeah, we truly appreciate it. Thank you guys and gals. So love it. Love it. We couldn't do it without you. You're the reason we're doing this. Then we have a good time.
That's right. 100%. Hey, we get to talk about what we're passionate about, so I'm okay with that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a good time for sure.
Yeah.
So this episode is dedicated to the big cooks. And now what you define as a big cook, I think one is kind of unique to you and what you have. What I consider a big cook is definitely different than what Michael considers a big cook. And because when I'm talking about a big cook, I'm talking like a 20-pound brisket, and then I follow it up with maybe 2 pork butts. And for you as a big cook, that's a cute start.
Right. Yeah, so what are we cooking today? We're only going to do 8 cases today. You know, that kind of thing.
Wow. That's a shitload of food.
So, since we're on the topic, now is a good time to announce that I have officially sold one of my trailers. A local civic organization bought it, and they have already put it to good use.
Good.
And rumor has it that I've sold my second one also. So I'm out of the big cook business the way things are looking.
What?
Yeah.
You're keeping one of the Langs, aren't you?
I'm keeping the 48 Lang, which is the patio style that is that I bought last October, November, whenever it was.
Okay.
Yeah, so I think my big cooking days are over. Now it's funny because when I told no secret that I cook for Sunrise Church. Mm-hmm. And I told the folks, that there's a good possibility that I'm going to sell my smokers. I'm not going to do big cooks anymore. But if you have anything that's in the 200-pound or less range, I'm still your guy.
Yeah.
But you said big. Yeah, well, I'm not going to do the 1,000-pound cooks anymore.
Yeah.
So, it's
200 pounds.
Yeah.
Like
I'm going to try to keep it, depending, of course, what the protein is. I'm going to try to keep it under 2 cases.
Yeah.
Is what I'm looking at.
Wow. I think I've done 200 pounds cumulatively on the smoker.
So in the process of advertising these smokers, I was curious as to just how much protein I put across the grills.
Yeah.
And we've talked about keeping notes in the past, and it's something that I have done pretty diligently. The best conservative number I can come up with is 9.5 tons of protein in the past 5 years over just my trailers. That's not including the barrel, not including the pit boss, not including the 48, not including the smoker that I sold to Adam, any of that. It's just the trailers at 9.5 tons.
Wow.
So
that's what, 19,000 pounds?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yep. Yeah, it's been an adventure. And when I set out and bought the first one, I was doing big cooks then, and I was doing them on the cook or the cooker I sold to Adam. And it would comfortably hold a case of whatever protein, comfortably. And I was doing stuff for different organizations, doing stuff for me, so on and so forth. And I decided that I wanted to go big. And my goal was I wanted to do 1,000-pound cook. And, you got to have goals, right?
Yeah.
So thanks to Girdle Tree, thanks to Pocomoke Fire Department, thanks to Sunrise Church, thanks to Stevenson United Methodist Church, thanks to a lot of different organizations, I was able to do that. And the biggest cook I did was 1,200 pounds. I did 1,200 pounds in a marathon session over 3 days during a tropical storm.
Wow.
And
was that Girdle Tree?
That was Sunrise 20th anniversary.
Okay.
It was in September 2 years ago, and we had a tropical storm move through that just sat on us, basically. And that without Noah. Noah was my my amateur pit novice who was helping me run the show. And that's when I discovered that Noah could cook freaking chicken. He might not be worth a damn with other proteins, but the boy can cook some fucking chicken. I'm just going to tell you. ain't no freaking doubt about that shit. He can do chicken. And he saved my ass. I mean, let's just face it. I'd never done chicken on a smoker in that volume. You know, I've done on open coal, obviously, but I had never done it on a smoker like that. And he grabbed the bull by the horns and wrestled that bitch, and we did a lot. We did 600, I think it was 600 pounds of chicken.
Wow.
We did for that. And I don't remember what that came out to as far as quarter wise, but it was a mess of fucking chicken.
Yeah.
It was 18. I want to say it was 18 buckets, 18 5-gallon buckets that they had brine chicken in that we did. So in getting to big cooks like that, preparation is everything.
Yeah.
And you have got to have your poop in a group to be able to successfully complete something of that size. Now we'll talk about Girdle Tree. I have done 84 pork butts at one time for Girdle Tree. That was the first year we did Girdle Tree. Did 84 butts. And you have got to pre-prep. You've got to make sure you have enough seasoning. So that takes a little bit of math. You've got to have enough pans. You've got to have enough vinegar. You've got enough foil. And the biggest part is you've got to have enough manpower. Because once you start seasoning and stacking your smokers, you don't want the door open, for an hour while one person's doing it. So my hat's off again to Girdle Tree Fire Department. They've always provided us with several members who have been able to lend a helping hand and actually run the smoker and help us do all the work. And the busiest times on big cooks, you have 3 busiest times. One of them is when you're prepping and you're getting it on the smoker. The next time is when it comes time to wrap, regardless if it's brisket, if it's pulled pork, whatever it is. And then removal time. Because 84 pork butts is 42 pans of pulled pork and takes up a tremendous amount of room. And we were running the ovens in the firehouse. We were running our warming boxes. We were running the decks of both smokers. And we were able to get that many pans full and cooked. And I think that one took about 14 hours. Wow. So you've really got to have your pre-planning done. You can't be running out buying stuff, last minute. And it's the same with every big cook. That's what's going to save your ass.
Yeah.
And be adjustable. We ran out of room with pans. So we ended up having to take the last handful of pork butts and just wrapping them in foil, same concept, and sticking them on top of the pans to make sure we had enough room. And they turned out just fine. And once you start, breaking them up, then you can put 3 or 4 to a pan, depending on the size of the butts. And it went very, very well for being that large of a cook, without a doubt.
When you do that and you pan your butts, are you using like the individual, like the pans that fit a butt, or are you doing like a bigger pan where you can fit 2 in one?
We're doing the bigger pans,
Gotcha. Okay.
The steam pans, I think they're called a half steam pan. it hold 2 butts. And
Yeah.
if it's small, you can get 3 in it.
Yeah. Wow.
Covering it with foil and letting her eat.
Yeah.
Ours
I
it'll
would.
go.
Yeah, I would think I understand the manpower intensive at the prep and putting them on, because you don't, like you said, you don't want to leave the door open too long and lose all your
Correct.
heat. And you got it, like, if you don't have a bunch of people there to get it all ready to get it on, then you're never going to get it. Like, they're never going to finish.
Correct.
And then the panning or wrapping, but I and this is from my inexperience. I see the end of it as like, well, I can kind of kill my fire.
Mhm.
It's a matter of like just getting it done so it's ready to serve. But I see that as less time sensitive, maybe.
And it is.
It's just more work intensive, manpower intensive as far as the work that needs to be done, because you got to get them off, you got to let them cool, you got to let them rest, and then you got to pull it.
So with taking them off, as well as I know, we've discussed the stall before. We've discussed a bunch of different things.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to have some of your butts popping off at
Mm-hmm.
8-hour mark.
Yeah.
Where other ones will go 12, 13 hours.
Yeah.
So you're staggered at the end. When you put them on, they're all going on at once. When you're wrapping them, you're pretty much wrapping them all at the same time. Within an hour, you're wrapping them all at the same time. But at the end, you may have stuff coming off 4 hours before the other stuff.
Right.
So your manpower isn't as critical at the end when you're taking it off. Now it is when you go to let it rest and then start pulling it, because then it's all hands on deck. You're trying to get everything done in the final pans, get them wrapped up and keeping them warm.
Yeah.
So that is a little bit more manpower related, but it's definitely been an experience learning how to do massive cooks like that.
I bet. Is them finishing up, obviously the smaller ones are going to finish up a little quicker because there's less mass.
Yes.
And then with any grill, the hot spot. So if there's a smaller one in a hot spot, it's going to cook a little faster. Yep. So is it like you kind of know where they're going to finish up first, and are you just checking for probe temperature, or are you checking the temperature, or how's that? Like, I'm watching, like, if I'm doing 2 chickens, 2 pork butts on my smoker, like, I've got probes in each of them, and I'm watching. Like, it's not a big deal, and if they're off, it's off by maybe an hour, Whereas, like, I'm not probing 80. I'm not probing 80 butts.
Yeah, exactly right. So let's get back to smoking basics.
Yeah.
And there's something called a biscuit test. It's when you have a smoker, you're really not familiar with it. You take Pillsbury biscuits or the store brand or whatever you want, and you place the raw biscuit dough over your smoker. You fire it up, you run it as normal, and you can see your hot spots and your cool spots based on how the biscuit is cooking. Well, you make a mental note of that, or you actually map it out. I keep saying, get a 3-ring binder. You can draw a schematic of your smoker, and you can map out your hot spots. So knowing where your hot spots are because you've done a biscuit test, what areas are going to cook faster and hotter than the others. I'm at the point now in my smoking, I don't use a thermometer. I don't probe. Let me back up. I don't use a probe that runs out to an external thing where I'm constantly monitoring. I'm okay now enough that I can go by color and an approximate time. So in saying that, balancing that with the hot spots and cool spots on all smokers, I get into rotating meat, especially when you have that much, because that's let's face it, 42 pork butts on one smoker is a hell of a thermal mass.
Yeah.
And for the first 4 or 5 hours, you might not see an increase in your thermometers on the smoker themselves because
Mm-hmm.
you've got all that thermal mass in there that it's cold thermal mass.
Mm-hmm.
But I know that it's cooking. I know that it's getting color. I know that it's getting smoke. So I won't even open the door. I just relax, run it based on the size of the fire. I know I'm not going too crazy with temperature. And it just comes with a little bit of experience. And you'll get there when you start doing these big cooks. You'll figure it out real quick. Then I get into about the 4 or 5 hour mark. I'll open the door for the first time, and I'll take my
Mm-hmm.
thermal pen and I'll just start sticking over my hot spots to see where I am temperature wise. If my cool spots are 20 degrees different than my hot spots, then I start rotating the butts around. I have pigtail flippers. It's a
Mm-hmm.
corkscrew on the end. I reach in, hook it, twist it, and I can start moving stuff around. I'll move my pork butts around, usually at the 4 or 5 hour mark, just to get more even cooking. Again, the only thing I've done out of all those pork, maybe 6 out of all of them, because I know where my spots are. Start moving stuff around. And after that initial moving stuff around, that's when you start seeing the thermal mass, everything starting to get equal. And when things start getting equal, your temperature, your overall temperature on your gauges on the outside start evening out really, really well because
Mm-hmm.
you've done that shift in the thermal mass and things are balanced and you're able to really do an effective cook from that point forward. Because then we get into the 6 hour mark. And it's funny how fast it goes from the 4 hour mark to the 6 hour mark. Temperature wise, your internal temperature, because all that mass has come up where it's actually starting to gain
Right.
the temp. Around the 6 hour mark is when we're starting to pan the smaller ones and really starting to see the color come around, that sort of thing. And I'm talking strictly pork butts right now. Then at the 8 hour mark, everything's panned. You've spurred the heat from maybe the 275 to 300 mark to the 300 to 325 mark. And you're really putting the spurs to it to get the braise going really well.
Mm-hmm.
And I've seen cooks where I've been able to get the last set of the big ones panned, and I'm already taking the little ones off because they're done.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they've been on long enough. They're at the 203, 205 mark. They can come off. And then that starts freeing up the space. The thermal mass gets better. And the cook really rolls at that point.
Yeah.
Now, again, you'll get a couple big bastards that just don't want to cook. And I think Dale experienced that the other day when he was doing his cook from the book. And, sometimes it just happens. It is the way it is. You have a prolonged stall, or whatever. And, for those who don't know what a stall is, every meat has a stall point. And that stall point is when it gets to a 160s, a 170s, and it won't progress. It seems like it'll stay that way for 2 hours. And that's when the meat's transitioning from almost cooked to cooked is the best way to put it.
Yeah.
And it every meat has it. Some of it goes really quick, some of it doesn't. And there are several tricks that you can use to get over the stall, and panning is one of them, which is why we pan between 167 and 170. That's typically where the stall is. And once you pan it and boost the temperature, it blows right through the stall,
right through.
And you're good to go.
Yeah.
And brisket's really no different.
Yeah.
You're constantly managing the flat, the point, trying not to overdo the flat while the point's getting done, but you still have that massive amount of thermal mass in there.
Mm-hmm.
So if you notice your flat getting a little overdone, or you're afraid it's going to go faster than the then the point, wrap it in foil, put a barrier. It takes a piece that's 12, 14 inches long and just wrap your flat. And it'll do a couple things. It'll keep the moisture in and around your flat, so you're not drying it out, making shoe leather necessarily. But this comes with experience. If we can help you a little bit along the way, if you want to do a bigger cook, do several briskets at one time or several pork butts, little tricks along the way will help you produce quality barbecue. And that's what we're here for, to help you out a little bit. Because I've learned by making mistakes. And when you make a mistake on a big cook, it costs you some money. So I've been real fortunate that we've limited a lot of that, and everything we've done has turned out pretty well at the end.
Yeah, I think, or I feel, I get the impression that if it's your first or you're new to the big cooking scene, and again, not my thing at all. Again, like I've managed, three chickens, 2 pork butts on my smoker, but I get the impression that if you're concerned about how the cook is going, if you just remember the basics, the low and slow, everything I do, if it comes off at 225 on that smoker, it's like I need to hurry things up a little bit. It's once it's in the pan, it's once it's wrapped, and that if you just remember the basics, you check your meat. So if you check it, and if you open the door and you check it an extra time or two, you're not losing anything except for time. Like you lose that heat, it has to build it back up, but you can prevent, the point, or not the point, the flat from drying out. You can prevent, something.
Oh, you prevent the bottom of your butt burning the shit out of, and you have shoe leather on the bottom of your butt. I mean, they're And again, like you said, all it's costing is time. Yeah.
And you went into this event, you went into this cook knowing that it was going to take a long time, because that's the nature of it. Like that's why you enjoy doing it. So if it adds an hour, who cares?
Yeah, who cares?
It's all good. Yeah. Damn it, I had a question. Oh, Noah and choking his chicken. What did our special little buddy do with the chicken?
So these folks, Sunrise, they had the big 5-gallon buckets. They brined the day before. They did all that. And like I said, I have never cooked chicken on a smoker with that volume. I've done like a chicken or 2 chickens or a couple turkeys, that sort of thing. So I really didn't have much experience doing it. So his big thing was introducing water to make steam to help cook the chicken. So we got water bottles, punched holes in the lids, the regular drinking bottle of water, and just spritzed water in every half an hour, 45 minutes, crack the door, squirt some in, create steam, keeps the chicken moist. Yeah. And I think it went exceptionally well for what we were tasked with, the amount of chicken we had, the whole 9 yards. I think it went, we turned over, had both the 84 Langs, and I believe we turned them over 4 times. Wow. Both of them, to get 600 pounds. I'm pretty sure it was 4 times that we turned it over.
Wow. Because you're doing chicken quarters, chicken
quarters.
Yeah. Because the nice thing is that they cook fast.
Yes. When you're cooking on a smoker, cooking fast is relevant. People will think that it's like cooking on charcoal. Well, shit, I can have a piece of meat done in 30 minutes over charcoal. Yeah, well, this is a smoker. It was taking 2.5 hours per piece, to get it rolled around. And we also cooked at a higher temperature than normal on a smoker because you wanted the skin to be crisp without going through a separate step kind of deal. So I think that introducing the moisture component was key in getting all that done. And my hat's off to Noah for doing that.
Yeah. And I think to keep the skin crispy, but to not prevent it from drying out, one, you have to cook it at a little higher temperature.
Yes.
And then two, that moisture is absolutely key. Like the brine helps keep the moisture in it, but then also like that little bit while you're cooking, and it helps that added temperature in the cook helps convert it to steam faster.
Correct.
Like obviously you're going to get some steam at 225, 250, but if you're closer to 300,
it's even better.
You're
getting full conversion at that point.
Yeah. Wow.
And was it 1 gallon of water converts to 1,700 cubic feet of steam? I don't know where I learned that, but something like that.
Yeah.
Steam your crabs, not your firemen.
Yeah. I saw a reel the other day of how to operate your pistol grip combination nozzle. and they said, take it off to the side, throw it down on the ground, and go get a smoothbore.
Yep.
Not to start a smoothbore combination nozzle.
Oh Lord.
Debate, discussion, whatever. I don't really give a shit, except I don't really want a pistol grip. That can fuck right off.
Yep.
So
anyway, that's another episode.
Yeah.
About the next crew come into work and there's no more pistol grips on anything and nobody knows where they are because one time you could unbolt them and they'd fall off.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So every pistol grip on a certain engine in a certain company all got loose and fell off at one time.
It's unfortunate.
Yeah, it was. It was a disaster, man.
Yeah.
Just a disaster. But
it
is what it is. So planning is your friend when it comes to that.
Yeah.
Have an idea what you want to do. If something goes tits up, then be adaptable, be able to improvise, adapt, and overcome. And like you said, stick to the basics and you'll make out fine. You will absolutely make out fine.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
And
I don't remember exactly how many briskets we did, but it was 600 and some pounds of brisket that we did. So let's just say if they were 10-pound briskets, having enough butcher paper, having enough space on the smoker, you've got to do some pre-planning for that.
Yeah.
And it was a good time. Glad I did it. Glad I did it under and I keep saying me, glad we did it under the adverse conditions that we did it under.
Mm-hmm.
It just makes for a hell of a story.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely. This is what we did. It was tropical depression. We had 2 smokers rolling for 3 days, went through a pallet full of wood. It was just a good time. It was a good time.
For the that was the Sunrise one, right?
That was Sunrise, 20-year anniversary. Yeah.
Mr. Big Rent's there?
No, he was not going to church there then. He came the following year when we started doing when we continued doing the Steve Decatur thing and then the Seaside Christian Academy thing. Mr. Big Wrench was there, my right-hand man.
He's the man.
Yep.
Dude. Yeah.
He's something.
Yeah. Yeah.
Shoulder, side by side, whatever I needed.
Yeah. Yeah. Great guy. So.
Yeah. He learned a lot, I think.
Oh, I'm sure. How do you estimate how much seasoning to have?
So what I did initially was I just took 1/4 cup, put my seasoning in it, and started seasoning whatever my protein was. And it turns out that it is right around 1/4 cup for a pork butt. For a brisket, it's right around that. Now, again, that's an average size pork butt, average size brisket. It may be a little bit more, it may be a little bit less.
Yeah.
Average speaking, it's about 1/4 cup when you're doing a big cook like that. So
Okay.
I know at 84 pork butts, every 4 butts is going to take a cup.
Yeah.
So that way, when I go into it, I know how much I have to have.
Yeah.
It gives me that idea. And if you ever see my bucket of seasoning that I tote around with me, it's a big 5-gallon bucket. And again, when I do something like this, I don't ask for anything. I ask that anything for me. I ask that my expenses be covered, and that's it. So I weigh my
Yeah.
bucket ahead of time, and I know what it costs me per ounce to make. So I make sure that we get reimbursed for that, because, as we know, it can get quite
Shit's
expensive.
expensive. Yeah.
But I know going into it how many pans I need based on what they've told me their need is, how
Hmm.
much foil it takes per pan. Everything has a calculation with it. And as long as you are somewhat okay at math, and I realize that we're firefighters and that doesn't always go hand in hand, but they have this thing on here that's called a calculator, and I know how to use that fucker. So I can get pretty close to what I need as far as wood goes, as far as seasoning goes. Pan's obvious, foil's obvious, vinegar. Uh,
Hmm.
I I don't measure it out when I do it. I know it's going to be about a half a cup per
Hmm.
butt, and
Yeah.
I know how long a slosh is for me to get that. So I make sure I have enough vinegar. I make sure I have enough seasoning, the pans, the foil, and again, manpower.
Yeah.
That's the big thing.
Yeah.
And the wood is based on per hour. I know that it takes me, once the fire's up and going, once the thermal mass is somewhat squared away, I run about 8 pieces of firewood an hour
Okay.
for one smoker. So I have, when I'm doing big cooks, I have two. That's 16 pieces an hour.
Yeah.
I know that my average cook time for big cook is 12 hours. So you want to buffer a little bit, have a little leftover, that
Yeah.
you're looking at 200 pieces of wood,
Yeah.
So it's all pre-planning to make
Yeah.
sure everything goes smooth. And when you're down in Girdle Tree doing something and you run out, it's not like you can just slip somewhere and grab it.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah. We
last I checked, Walmart doesn't have firewood.
nope. Yeah. Rachel a couple years ago was being a middle school, elementary school teacher, was talking with a buddy about having them come into her class and talk about why. And he's a construction. He does home construction, renovations, all that kind of stuff, and is an excellent craftsman. Stymus Enterprises. Jason Stymus was he and I went to paramedic school together. He's since left the fire service and is running his own business and absolutely killing it. Does fantastic work. Um, but was talking to him about coming in to talk about why square footage, area, linear measurements, all that kind of stuff is important, and why the kids needed to know it and how to be able to do that kind of math. And this is the same thing,
Yep.
This is, you need to know the square footage of your foil, your pans, your butcher paper, because if you don't have it, and being able to take it out further for your wood, eight
Yeah.
pieces an hour for a smoker. All right. Now, like you said, you're running two, so that doubles. This is your average cook time. You need to have extra, blah, 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 all that kind of stuff. But like the math is huge. And, I don't know if it was from my time working in high school to like, that'd be a pretty fun math lesson to come in and talk
Yeah.
about that kind of stuff. And then, of course, like if you're going to come in and talk about all that kind of stuff for the kids, like you might as well have some food to, something tasty for them to snack on while
Yeah.
you're talking to them about it, because that's gonna make it's going to make it click a little better for them.
That's right.
So I have to talk to Rachel about that.
So when you're figuring out how many pieces of wood are in a cord,
Oh, I have no idea.
so it's like 4,000 and something. I forget exactly what the average is. So when you buy a cord of wood at $325, you do a little bit of math and you figure out that each piece of wood costs you X amount of dollars.
Yeah.
Or X amount of cents.
Yeah.
At that level. And that way you can give them a fair and accurate estimate as to what their costs are going to be so you can recoup your expenses.
Yeah.
I learned that early on.
Yeah. Well, it's like I think we talked about it through text or like in a pre-show, after-show kind of thing, and we're talking about, you go to get some brisket somewhere, and it costs $40 a pound. You're like, what the fuck? Like you can buy brisket at the store in Salisbury at Sam's Club $3.98 a pound.
Correct.
And why am I now paying? It's because everything else that goes into it, the cost of the wood, the seasoning, the butcher paper, the manpower, it comes back to, you pay a plumber however many dollars an hour to come in and fix your pipes. Well, he's there for 40 minutes and you get a bill for whatever the bill is, and you look at it and if you're saying this is ridiculous. Well, if it's so ridiculous, why didn't you fucking fix it?
Exactly right.
So it makes sense. So
yeah, without a doubt, it's folks don't understand that either. I've had people tell me I was nuts because I want a pork butt. How much is a pork butt? Pork butt's $40. I'll tell you exactly how much it is. $40. And but I can get it for 99 cents a pound at. Okay.
Go ahead.
Yeah, let's, and then you cook it. Well, I don't have a smoker. That's right.
Yeah.
Right, now here's what's your time worth? What is your hourly rate for you to do something?
Yeah.
Okay. Now times your hourly rate times 10 hours. Average for a pork butt. Are you going to pay me $250? Because I'm assuming your hourly rate's going to be $25 an hour.
Mm-hmm.
Are you going to pay me $250 to smoke your pork butt? Now, $40 isn't so much now, is it?
Yeah. Yeah. But we're not going to get into the price of wood, the seasoning, the pan, the foil.
Just time.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah. And this is not meant to have turned into a grievance or a bitching about people bitching about that, but it's something to consider. It takes time to make this stuff, and it's not like the way that people using stick burners. It is it's more intensive than when I throw something on the pellet smoker, because I'm cooking a brisket. I'm cooking. It's a small cook. It's easy for me. I can watch it from my phone, and I'm off fucking off doing something else, and I'm not really watching it because I know that there's a hopper full of pellets and the thing is staying where it is.
And you're good to go. Where with a stick burner, I'm literally touching it every 20 minutes.
Yeah.
So 4 times an hour, I'm having to do something to the smoker, either stoke the fire or move coals around to keep it, in an efficient location to get the maximum amount of use out of it, or moving the meat around or doing something.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think people truly appreciate the taste. They truly appreciate the meats, the stuff that comes off of the smoker. Mm-hmm. So, and people that understand and they get it, but for people that don't, and they get a little sticker shock from it. Well, you have to understand, and the places that are doing it and doing it well, like they deserve it. They earn it. Again, when you pay the mechanic, when you pay the plumber, when you pay the electrician, like you're paying for the time and you're paying for the experience that person has that allows them to do the job in 10 minutes you're paying for everything that they've done before that to be able to do it that way.
That's right. That's 100% correct.
So, yeah. So again, not to turn this into a bitch session, or
it's just how it is.
It just is what it is. So, yeah, big cooks. I'm like, just talking about it makes me a little nervous. Like,
they very stressful leading up, and you hope that you have all your bases covered and all your homework done and all your pre-planning done, and you didn't skip anything.
Yeah.
I've been real fortunate in doing these cooks that learned a lot, but they all went off pretty much without a hitch. A couple little things here and there, but nothing that ever affected quality or a loss of product.
Yeah.
So I think it included a fire. So, oops.
Might be.
Shit happens.
Yeah. Yeah. So, well, this one's running a little long, but I think, there was a lot to talk about, and there's a lot that goes into the big cook. So, sorry, folks. I hope it's you got a little longer ride or a little longer walk. I know.
Yeah, and hopefully you're not on the shitter the entire time. Otherwise, I hope you got up, moved around a little bit so your legs aren't asleep.
If you're still on the shitter, I hope you have a handicap accessible little rail to get you up, because your legs are definitely asleep.
Yep. Or Justin, if you have your walker nearby, you're going to need it, pal.
So thanks for sticking with us. We hope you enjoyed the show. Talking about big cooks and all the stuff that goes into that. Not all the stuff, a lot of it. I'm sure we could probably make this an hour show, which we're not going to do, Noah. So thanks for sticking with us. We hope you enjoy the show. Again, the folks that are reaching out to us, we truly appreciate your support and the feedback and all that kind of stuff. So keep it coming. And with that being said, we'll see you guys next time. Thanks for joining us.